Hebrews 11, verse 8. By faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. By faith, he made his home in the promised land like a stranger in a foreign country. He lived in tents, as did Isaac and Jacob, who were heirs with him of the same promise. For he was looking forward to the city with foundations, whose architect and builder is God. And by faith, even Sarah, who passed childbearing age, was able to bear children because she considered him faithful who had made the promise. And so from this one man, and he as good as dead, came descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as countless as the sand on the seashore. Now, we talked about that in the previous video. I think it was Story of Faith number 5. But I wanted to give some context before I read verse 13. All these people were still living by faith. So he's discussed all these different people. Abel, Enoch, Noah, Abraham. All these people were still living by faith when they died. They did not receive the things promised. They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance, admitting that they were foreigners and strangers on earth. People who say such things show, as in demonstrate, that they are looking for a country of their own. If they had been thinking of the country they had left, they would have had opportunity to return. Instead, they were longing for a better country, a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared a city for them. By faith, Abraham, when God tested him, offered Isaac as a sacrifice. He who had embraced the promises was about to sacrifice his one and only son, even though God had said to him, "It is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned." Abraham reasoned that God could even raise the dead, so in a manner of speaking, he did receive Isaac back from death. And we read both of those stories in the previous video. By faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau in regard to their future. Let's read it. Genesis 27. When Isaac was old and his eyes were so weak that he could no longer see, he called for Esau, his older son, and said to him, "My son." "Here I am," he answered. Isaac said, "I am now an old man and don't know the day of my death. Now then, get your equipment, your quiver and bow, and go to the open country to hunt some wild game for me. Prepare me the kind of tasty food I like and bring it to me to eat, so that I may give you my blessing before I die." Now Rebekah was listening as Isaac spoke to his son Esau. When Esau left for the open country to hunt game and bring it back, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "Look, I overheard your father say to your brother Esau, 'Bring me some game and prepare some tasty food to eat, so that I may give you my blessing in the presence of the Lord before I die. Now, my son, listen carefully and do what I tell you. Go out to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats, so I can prepare some tasty food for your father, just the way he likes it. Then take it to your father to eat, so that he may give you his blessing before he dies.' Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, 'But my brother Esau is a hairy man, while I have smooth skin. What if my father touches me? I would appear to be tricking him and would bring down a curse on myself rather than a blessing.' His mother said to him, 'My son, let the curse fall on me. Just do what I say. Go and get them for me.' So he went and got them and brought them to his mother, and she prepared some tasty food, just the way his father liked it. Then Rebekah took the best clothes of Esau, her older son, which she had in the house, and put them on her younger son Jacob. She also covered his hands and smoothed part of his neck with goat skin. Then she handed to her son Jacob the tasty food and the bread she had made. He went to his father and said, 'My father.' 'Yes, my son,' he answered. 'Who is it?' Jacob said to his father, 'I am Esau, your firstborn. I've done as you've told me. Please sit up and eat some of my game, so that you may give me your blessing.' Isaac asked his son, 'How did you find it so quickly, my son?' 'The Lord your God gave me success,' he replied. Then Isaac said to Jacob, 'Come near so I can touch you, my son, to know whether you really are my son Esau or not.' Jacob went close to his father Isaac, who touched him and said, The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau.' He did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy like those of his brother Esau. So he proceeded to bless him. 'Are you really my son Esau?' he asked. 'I am,' he replied. Then he said, 'My son, bring me some of your game to eat, so that I may give you my blessing.' Jacob brought it to him, and he ate, and he brought some wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, 'Come here, my son, and kiss me.' So he went to him and kissed him. When Isaac caught the smell of his clothes, he blessed him and said, 'Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you heaven's dew and earth's richness, and abundance of grain and new wine. May nations serve you and peoples bow down to you. Be Lord of your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed." After Isaac finished blessing him, and Jacob had scarcely left his father's presence, his brother Esau came in from hunting. He too prepared some tasty food and brought it to his father. Then he said to him, "My father, please sit up and eat some of my game, so that you may give me your blessing." His father Isaac kissed him. "Who are you?" "I'm your son," he answered, "your firstborn Esau." Isaac trembled violently and said, "Who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me? I ate it just before you came, and I blessed him, and indeed he will be blessed." When Esau heard his father's words, he burst out with a loud and bitter cry and said to his father, "Bless me too, my father." But he said, "Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing." Esau said, "Isn't he rightly named Jacob? This is the second time he has taken advantage of me. He took my birthright, and now he has taken my blessing." Then he asked, "Haven't you reserved any blessing for me?" Jacob, by the way, in the footnote means he grasps the heel, a Hebrew idiom for he takes advantage of or he deceives. Isaac answered Esau, "I have made him lord over you and have made all his relatives his servants, and I have sustained him with grain and new wine. So what can I possibly do for you, my son?" Esau said to his father, Do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, my father." Then Esau wept aloud. His father Isaac answered him, "Your dwelling will be away from the earth's richness, away from the dew of heaven above. You will live by the sword, and you will serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you will throw his yoke from off your neck." Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing his father had given him. He said to himself, "The days of mourning for my father are near, then I will kill my brother Jacob." When Rebekah was told what her son Esau had said, she sent for her younger son Jacob and said to him, "Your brother Esau is planning to avenge himself by killing you. Now then, my son, do what I say. Flee at once to my brother Laban in Haran. Stay with him for a while until your brother's fury subsides. When your brother is no longer angry with you and forgets what you did to him, I'll send word for you to come back from there. Why should I lose both of you in one day?" Then Rebekah said to Isaac, "I'm disgusted with living because of these Hittite women. If Jacob takes a wife from among the women of this land, from Hittite women like these, my life will not be worth living." Okay, back to Hebrews 11, verse 20. By faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau in regard to their future. That story always perplexes me, and it troubles my soul. Because of the deception and because of how Rebekah handled things, I just don't love it. I don't love that story, and I know that I need to sit with God on it because I don't like it. I don't like how all of that went down. The deception part of it, like I understand that Esau, maybe not in that story, but the previous story where, Esau decided, "I'll sell you my birthright for, to satisfy my flesh." I get it. That part I get, but the other part I'm not getting, and I'm going to sit with God, and I'll get back to you. I'll let you know. If he's revealed anything to you, please let me know, because that deception just gets me. One thing that I do know is that Jacob dealt with that too. I mean, it's not like God let him off scot-free. He went to go work for Laban, and what happened? He ended up marrying Leah when he thought he was marrying Rachel. So he didn't get away with it. But the way the story goes is just so hard for me to stomach. I know that God has every ability to reveal it and every ability to help me understand and wrap my heart around it, because he's done it so many other times before. I can't lean on my own understanding, but I share that with you because there are stories in the Word that are hard to understand until he makes you understand. In any event, the scripture is stated that by faith, Isaac was the one who had faith, blessed Jacob and Esau in regard to their future. So he believed that what he was blessing them with would happen, that it was going to happen. And he believed that he had that blessing, that when he gave that blessing to Jacob instead of Esau, that it was going to come true, that he had already spoken it. And I don't know, the scriptures don't necessarily, at least from what I've seen, don't necessarily give us a whole lot of information as to these blessings and how they worked and what was the agreement between those giving the blessing, usually the father, right? Father who was anointed by God. It doesn't tell us, what is the agreement that they had with God or what was their understanding with regard to these blessings. But it does seem to imply that when they died, they gave a blessing to their children. And you see that Jacob did the same thing with his sons. But you also see that not only Isaac, but Esau and Jacob and Rebekah, they knew that that blessing held weight, that this was an authority that Isaac had been given to actually speak something that was going to happen. And it did, and it has, and it continues to be, doesn't it? Let's look at the blessing again. Here's the blessing for Esau. Your dwelling will be away from the earth's richness, away from the dew of heaven above. You will live by the sword, and you will serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you will throw his yoke from off your neck. Okay, and elsewhere in the word, it says the older will serve the younger with regard to Esau and Jacob. What does that mean? What does that mean that the older will serve the younger? Well, let's look at Jacob's blessing. May God give you heaven's dew and earth's richness, an abundance of grain and new wine. Many nations will serve you and bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers. Lord over your brothers. That's a stratification, okay? That's a key point right there. And may the sons of your mother bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed. And remember that Jacob's name was changed to Israel. So he's talking about Israel. Is he talking about an ethnicity? No. Get that out of your head if you believe that. He's talking about what the New Testament identifies to be Israel. Israel, not all who are descended from Israel are Israel. Not all who are descended from Abraham are Abraham's children. Not all Jews are those who have outward circumcision, but must have circumcision of the heart. Every Jew, every spiritual Jew, what God considers a Jew, what does he care about ethnicity? Absolutely nothing. Everyone who is identified as being part of Israel, whether they came from the natural olive tree, so they're ethnically Jewish, and are circumcised in heart. Remember, there have been ethnic Jews that have been broken off of that natural olive tree. Okay, so the key to identifying is that you are circumcised in heart. And that doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter what ethnicity you are. So you can come from that natural olive tree, but if you're not circumcised in heart, you're as good as dead. Hey, what did he say about the branches? They get broken off and thrown into the fire. So there is the natural olive tree, then there's the wild olive tree that's engrafted in. How are they engrafted in? Same criteria. There's no favoritism. You must be circumcised in heart. That identifies Israel. So God's not talking about an ethnicity. When he says, may those who curse you be cursed and those who bless you be blessed, he's talking about his people who are blessed. You can't be blessed if you're wicked, So let me tell you something else. Abraham's children, Ishmael and Isaac, both received a blessing. Both received a blessing. Does God bless the wicked? No, he does not. Guess who is descended from Ishmael? Islam. Why do you think they're being persecuted right now? I'm not saying that it's the correct religion, but what I'm saying is that they will be blessed, and they have been blessed through Ishmael, and yet the covenant comes through Isaac. You either believe in the word or you don't, but either way, it won't stop me from saying it. So what does this mean that the older will serve the younger? Who's the older here? Esau is the older, and Jacob is the younger, and they represent first resurrection, second resurrection. They have to, because the rest are being thrown into the lake of burning sulfur. First resurrection, second resurrection. Now, what does Esau represent? Esau represents what? Edom, the Edomites, those who live by their flesh, those who decided to choose the flesh in this life, but then are given a second chance, and then they choose Christ. Okay, so they'll be given a second chance during the second resurrection, but they are going to serve the younger. They don't have an inheritance. They are saved only as one escaping the flames. So those of you who've been in Bible study, those of you who've been studying this, you're going to get it. You're going to understand. There are going to be a lot of people who listen to this video who are like, what are you talking about? What's second resurrection? What are Edomites? What is any of this? Join us for Bible study. It's an invitation that's been extended for a long time now. You want to know the word, you want to know the covenant, join us. So the theme of this is a story of faith. So we're talking about the faith of Isaac, who believed in the blessing that he was giving his two sons. He believed in it. And he believed, even when he was deceived, that what he said was going to happen, period. And it is happening, and it will happen. He didn't say, oh, Esau, come over here. Don't worry. It's not legit anyway. This is just a cutesy thing that I do with you. He believed in the blessing that he gave. He believed that the blessing was irrevocable. Just as he said, indeed, Jacob will be blessed. What other story of faith do we see here? Well, we see the story of what is going to happen for God's people who are Israel, who are circumcised in heart from the sinful flesh, from the sinful world. And what happens for them? We believe in a country that God is building for us. We believe in a city that he is building for us, don't we? And that city is what? Jerusalem. We believe in a city that God is building that is for us in the future. We have not attached ourselves to the lives here. We have not sold our inheritance for a bowl of stew. Listen to what is stated in Hebrews 11:13. All these people were still living by faith when they died. They did not receive the things promised. They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance, admitting that they were foreigners and strangers on earth. People who say such things show that they are looking for a country of their own. If they had been thinking of the country they had left, they would have had an opportunity to return. Instead, they were longing for a better country, a heavenly one. Okay? Hand to the plow, you don't look back. Don't be like Lot's wife. Hand to the plow, you don't look back. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, because they're not what? They're not looking back. They can return. You want to go return to that country? Go ahead. This is why I'm so stern with you guys when you say that you believe, and then you go do something stupid like go to work on God's Sabbath. Why? Why did you do that? If you believe so much and that's what you're professing, then do you not believe that God's going to be able to take care of you? Because that is not going to make it. That is not going to make it during the Antichrist reign. If this is what you succumb to, the fears that you have in your heart right now over stupid things like that, how do you think you're going to make it through the Antichrist reign? You're going to suddenly muster up the courage? How? And how is it that you think that I understand, that I believe that you're standing with me in faith in what I'm doing right now, giving up my entire life and about to lose my home when you can't even take a day off work? Tell me. I'd really like to know how you're standing in faith when you don't even believe what he will do in your own life. That's not standing in faith. In fact, it's insulting to me. It is an insult to me when you speak that idle chatter out of your mouth about how you believe what God is going to do. He's going to move on my behalf, and this is, yes, I know that God. Oh, I know that God. But you know what? I won't make it. I won't make it to Sabbath. I won't make it to assembly because I've got to work. What? I'm not speaking to one person. This is why I'm stern with you guys. Because if you can't do that right now, and I don't love you enough to call you on it, how are you going to make it? God isn't going to hold me up because of what you're not doing. I can tell you that right now. He will not do that. He will be faithful to me because I have been faithful to him. But I'm not stupid enough to believe that you're standing with me in faith when you don't stand in faith in your own life. And I have great concern for you. So please consider what I'm saying. If you can't do it now, you won't do it later. Whatever you're not doing now, call a fast. Get your journal out. Do whatever it is that you got to do in order to get that fear out of your heart so that you can fully obey him. Because those who are afraid have not been perfected in love. Please discern what I've said with God.